Hello and welcome back to Career Talks with Germanportals. We have with us again here Divya, and as we had discussed in the previous video about her au pair experience, right now we're going to be understanding a little bit more in depth about how she has basically completed her studies to be a veterinarian. Veterinarian.
Or a veterinary doctor.
Yeah, veterinary doctor.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's called Tierarzt in auf Deutsch. And
Oder Tierärztin.
Tierärztin, stimmt, yeah. yeah.
Yeah.
So, Divya,
Yes.
so how is it that you ended up becoming a vet, and what was, tell us little bit about the motivation in the beginning. So.
Yeah. So in my case, I always wanted to be a veterinarian, and that was one of my earliest memories, to be honest. Like, I always knew that somewhere in the medical field would probably be my calling. But as soon as I was old enough to find out about what a vet does, that was always something that was in my mind. But yeah, like, so in India, I chose to do a Bachelor of Science and major in zoology, because it was the closest thing to working with animals, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. And yeah, so the decision to study veterinary medicine here in Germany was something that was not pre-planned for sure. It was quite a spontaneous decision on my part, as in I didn't do too much research on it, to be honest. But it definitely worked out really well in my favor, and I must say luck also has a certain role to play in this situation. But yeah, so
Okay.
that's how I came to study veterinary medicine over here.
Okay. Which university were you studying at?
I was studying at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Hanover.
Okay.
And in Germany, there are 5 universities that offer this course, and I did it in Hanover.
Okay, I understand. And how did you end up like getting the spot or getting the seat in the university? What did you have to do for that? Or when did you start the process, and what do you have to do for that?
So in my case, since my case is a little bit
Correct.
different, and I already had a degree in zoology, in science. For me, I didn't have to take certain examinations that you have to if you're not from here, and if you don't have a certain
You mean the student colleague, right?
yeah, exactly. I think that is what it is right now. And so my admission process was a little unconventional and a little different. It was a little more complicated, not complicated as such, but it was a little different.
Non-standard,
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't a standard procedure.
I understand. So for guys who don't know, I'll just plug in what the student colleague is. Basically, Germany has a 13-year school system and India has a 12-year school system. So for this 1 year difference, you are expected to do a foundation year or a student colleague at one of the recognized institutes. And at the end of the student colleague, basically they have a sort of an exam which is called the Feststellungsprüfung. And depending on what grade you get, you can apply to the various universities. So student colleague is definitely a must for all public universities. And here Divya, since she already had a bachelor's degree, which means that she had 12 plus 3 years of education as opposed to 13, she had 15 years already, which is why she could skip the extra foundation year, and she got directly admission into the bachelor's over here.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, there is also a certain amount of seats reserved for international students.
I understand.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I
that is
also
great.
got
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was your experience of like the whole study experience,
Yeah, my whole experience in university is something that I wasn't used to. It was very different for me, because the first and the most difficult part of it was definitely that the entire course was in German, and on top of that it was science. It was
Right.
life science.
Right,
It's a
right.
life sciences course.
Right.
So there are a lot of terminology that is
Right.
very different, and even the basic words
I mean,
was
you didn't know it, right?
I didn't know it. Like
Right.
for things like kidneys,
Hmm.
they like called something else in German. So it was like, so I had to basically start from zero with everything, which was definitely a struggle for me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it in any way. The entire course was definitely, it wasn't easy at all. But yeah, at the end of it, it was worth it.
Give us an insight into some of the interesting experiences you had, like academically, some of the interesting courses that you like. What would you be studying? What kind of courses would you have in studies?
So we have a variety. So the entire course is divided into, we have our like our basic science courses. Like right in the beginning, you have basics like physics, chemistry, botany, zoology. These certain courses which it's called the Physicum. So where the basic science courses are taught, and at the same time you start with basic courses in relation to our the veterinary courses, where we start with basic anatomy. And I think this is like standard all over the world. Like you start with the beginning, and
Okay.
and then you move on from there.
Okay. And how about like the next few stages? Like, just give me a insight into the kind of courses.
So initially you start with your physicum and physicum. That's where you have the basic sciences, and then after that you start with the more clinical side of things. Then you have it's called quarter, where we discuss different cases, and in the different clinics that we have over there. So we discuss small animal cases, large animal cases, about ruminants, about horses, equine medicine, everything. So we get like a very solid foundation and a solid insight into what we can expect later on, and how we come to a diagnosis. What are the different tests that need to be performed that help us to come to a diagnosis. And this is just a very small gist of all the different things that await us. And
Okay. And what about like how practical is your study program exactly?
It is also quite practical. We do have certain exams. For example, like exams right at the end, the last 6 months of the course is 6 months of exams, the final boards exams, as one would call it. So that is also quite practical, and it has a practical approach to it as well.
Okay.
And
what about internships or something?
Yeah, and that's also, I was coming to that as well. That's also another very important part of the entire course. That after the 4th year, we have a whole year. The 5th year, the 5th whole year, we have a whole series of internships that need to be done. There are a lot of voluntary internships, I would say, as well as compulsory internships that need to be done. For example, in a slaughterhouse, in the public veterinary office, and these are compulsory internships. And then a certain number of hours that we need to complete in a clinic, or depending on what you prefer.
What is the duration of the entire course?
The entire course, right from the beginning till the last exam, was 5.5 years.
Okay. And for the duration of the course, is it possible to practically sponsor yourself, like through part-time jobs at like clinics or wherever else?
It is not easy, to be honest. Like for me, it was, I mean, there are people who do it, but for me personally, it was the whole course was not easy, and it was a bit of a struggle. So I had to concentrate, use my free time to concentrate on studying, which I couldn't use to work part-time.
Alright.
So it's not very conducive to. And of course, we do need the blocked account.
Right.
And
Okay, I understand. And what about like, what are the different kinds of specializations you could select in the course?
During the course, right at the end, you could decide on what in which clinic you would like to do your final rotation, and then you would be like a certain your clinical exams would be based on that. So for example, I did mine at the cattle clinic, and so my internal medicine, surgery, and reproduction medicine was I was examined on these topics in about ruminant health and about cattle health.
I understand. Okay, and you had some pretty interesting experiences also at farms, right? And at
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
So in the second year of no, at the end of the first year, we do have a compulsory agricultural internship that you have to do,
right,
and that was also a very interesting experience for me,
Right.
working at a farm and learning about learning about the importance and the different experiences and your duties as a vet, and how important it is to not only about the food we eat, also about public health in that aspect as well.
Okay. What other kinds of jobs that you have available over here?
There are so many jobs available as a vet. You don't have to only go into the practical way of working in a clinic or in a hospital. You also have the option of going into research, doing research. Then there are a whole lot of options actually. If I sit naming them all, it will take a long
Just maybe mention the
time.
top, like 5 categories. What kind of employers are there?
There are a variety of employers, to be honest. Like, for example, you could work in the university itself, you could work in one of the clinics over there, you could work in a private clinic, you could possibly do research in bigger institutes, and depending on which field you want to get into, you could work in the public veterinary office as well. You could work, and in the public veterinary office also there are different roles that can be different roles to be filled, and
What about, like,
meat
say, companies?
inspection. You can work in a
Oh, really, meat inspection?
meat inspection as well. You can work in a slaughterhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about, like, industry?
Yeah, that there is also a need for vets in the industry, especially in the pharmaceutical line, and there are a lot of quite a few people who do choose that line of work as well.
I understand. So there's really a lot of options. And, like, is it a field where there's a shortage of experienced staff here as well in Germany?
That is what they say. Like,
Right.
to be honest, like, I haven't yet been in that position where we've actually experienced that kind of shortage, but slowly there is a shortage of vets who actually want to practice,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
there is like a lot of discussion about this topic as well.
Everyone knows, like, being a vet is not easy, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you face as a vet in your life, and especially as a foreigner who's studied and to become a vet here?
Like, for me, I think one of the biggest challenges, being not a native speaker of German, is client communication. And in the veterinary profession, that is one of the things that is so important, because people want to know, because now there are so many people who have pets, and they are willing to go above and beyond for their pet, and of course they do expect that level of care as well. So client communication is something that is very important.
Okay.
And that is one aspect which I personally find quite challenging, and many vets, even native speakers, do as well.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, naturally, I mean, like, pets are more or less your extended family members,
Exactly.
and so you expect, like, and makes sense. See the profession evolving. What are the current challenges, and what are the what is the direction? How are people, like, how is the profession overcoming these challenges?
Yeah, for me right now to comment about this is a little bit difficult, because I'm just starting. I do not have any experience.
Starting
at all.
as?
Starting as a vet,
Right.
and I don't have too much
I
experience
understand.
in this particular field. So for me
Right.
to comment about this particular topic would be a little.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's not something I could really
Right.
comment about right
Right.
now, but maybe in a couple of years when we have this interview again, I will let you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What can one expect to earn as a vet?
It varies a lot, and depends on what profession you in
Right.
what field you
Right.
have chosen.
Right.
But there are certain, especially if you're working as a working vet, there are directives, or there are certain guidelines that you can look up,
Right.
and they will give you a basic idea about what you can expect in terms
Okay.
of
Is there a
asking for pay. There are certain
is there like a specific, like, is a region value which you can assign to it? Like, say for example, you can say like a master, a graduate engineer can earn anyways between like 40 to 50,000 as a starting salary,
yeah,
right?
like, yeah, for a vet I'd say it's a little lower than that,
Okay.
definitely, but right now I cannot really say, because I don't have that much experience in this, but
Right.
there are guidelines available where
Alright.
you can inform yourself about it, and and when you meet up with your employer, you can have that conversation. I mean, you won't be left without any idea about, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to make as well, but it depends on what field you're in and where you're employed at.
I understand. Okay. What would you recommend to people who want to become a vet in Germany? What would be your set of recommendations to them?
You do have to look at it in a very, like, you have to be very, very passionate, for sure. You have to, and if you're an international student who's coming here, you have to be good with the language. That is something that is very, very important. And you do have, I mean, it's not an easy course at all, that I cannot say enough of, but you do have to work very hard for it.
I understand. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a medical profession, right?
Yeah,
So,
there are lives at hand.
Correct.
And there are people who depend on you, and pets that depend on you.
Right. Divya, thank you for taking out the time
No
again.
problem.
And we look forward to having you again on our career show.
Definitely.
And and if you guys again have questions regarding, like, studying veterinary medicine in Germany, please feel free to contact us and get in touch with Divya through us. Thank you.